Well, growing up as a kid, I was raised on a farm. We were a family of five, farmhouse, good sized yard, a little creek that ran in the back, and then there was big fields that we had hay, and tobacco was the cash crop that we had, and then our farm rose up on a hill. I worked hard on the farm, but that hard work on the farm made sure I worked even harder in the classroom. Sunday Mass was a given. We as children always knew that our parents loved each other and we would get through the difficulties together. My mother, she died very young. She died at age 60. Faithful, true, and a loving person. I always saw a church vocation as a possibility, basically because of the family I was raised in. There was always my religious aunts and my great uncle that were part of those family gatherings. They always were joy-filled people, okay? They were, you knew that they had a certain comfort in their calling. When I was in high school, the voice, so to speak, of God's call got louder for me until basically between my junior and senior year. I can still remember it was a tossing, turning night, and it was one of those, what are you going to do kind of moments. What are you going to do with your life? How are you going to live it? I feel I was very blessed by the formation that I received, both in college seminary and my theologate, that really put before me, here is the life. Here are the sacrifices you will make, and here are some of the gifts that will be given. I also think in the journey toward priesthood, there's also a question of worthiness. Who am I to be asked to do this? And will I be up to the call? Just like marriage, you can prepare people all you want, and then you have to live it. If you ever meet a bishop and you don't know how to get a conversation started, ask him about the call from the nuncio, okay? The call from Rome, the call from the Holy Father. And because that's a life-changing call. Hello, this is Archbishop Pierre, the nuncio of the Apostolic See, and I'm calling for the Holy Father. And so immediately when you get that call, adrenaline goes through your whole body. After he first initially introduced himself on the phone, he said, "You do know who I am." I said, "Oh, I know who you are." And I also know why you make these calls. And then finally he just said, well, I'm calling for the Holy Father to ask you to be Bishop of the Diocese of Nashville in Tennessee. And there was kind of a pause, and he says, I need to hear you say yes. The clearest thing I said to him is, I will serve with the gifts that God has given me. And immediately when I said that, his response was, that's a yes. And so the first place I went to was my mother's grave. And I prayed there, and I just, through her intercession and the intercession of the Blessed Mother, I said, I'm going to need help. Help me. Just as she had helped raise me and make me into the person I am, the man I am today, I just stood there and prayed at her grave. And then the second place I went is my home parish I grew up in. And they were having an hour of adoration at that point. And so I was able to go and kneel and pray. And then the third place I went to is the place in Calvary Cemetery in Louisville, where the archbishops and all the priests are buried, the priest section. So I'm standing there in awe where all these headstones are of brothers who had gone before me. And I prayed again. So those were the three stations I went to the day of. So when you're finished with the conversation, the last line he tells you is you're also put under what is called the pontifical secret. And I asked him, when can I speak to my dad? So this call was on a Monday. He says, you can tell your father on a Thursday. I said, Dad, I got to tell you something. And it's very important, and once I tell you, you can't tell anybody for a little while. And he just kind of, you could tell in his eyes they were getting big. And I said, I got a call on Monday, and I've been appointed the Bishop of Nashville in Tennessee. He didn't say anything. He just dropped his head and he started to cry. And so I just let him finish, and you know, he's getting me emotional, and even telling you right now is getting me emotional to experience that moment. He says, you got to keep this absolute quiet? And I said, yes. And he said, well, make sure you tell your sister last. And when I look at my life and the blessings I've received, to whom much is given, much will be required. That I say often in my preaching and teaching here in the Diocese of Nashville. And I said it when I was a pastor back in the parishes, because I understand it to be so true for me. And when you're that blessed, then there is a requirement that comes along with those blessings. And I have to open my eyes and open my heart to the world and share.